Welcome back to Cooking with Kayla D. I'm Kayla D, and that's my husband Randy. Today we are doing a copycat recipe from Gordon Ramsay. It is a pork fillet dish with a Mediterranean corn roasted salsa. This is one of his Ramsay in 10 recipes. For the ingredients to serve for, you'll need 4 to 6 ounce pork fillets, 16 to 20 slices of prosciutto, 3 fresh corn on the cob, 1 medium red onion, 1 pint of heirloom or regular cherry tomatoes, 2 to 3 tablespoons of chili oil, 14 to 16 ounces of fresh spinach, 1/3 cup of fresh basil, 2 tablespoons of butter, 2 to 3 tablespoons of garlic powder, cooking oil, and salt and pepper to taste. I did replace my red onion with a white onion. You're going to clean your corn on the cob, cut the little tip off of the end so you have that flat spot. Flip that down onto your cutting board surface. Hold your stalk area and let that knife just glide right down, cutting the corn right off of the cob. If some of your corn cuts off in chunks, leave them in chunks. Don't break them up. It will give a wonderful texture to your roasted corn Mediterranean salsa. And once you're done cutting your corn, you move on to slicing your onion. Chef Ramsay does say to slice it, not to slice it too thin. Because of the way my husband is finicky with onions, I chopped mine up and made sure it was super thin. Because he does not like chunky onions or tomatoes, so I had to keep the tomatoes out of his as well. I always recommend, especially when it's a good chef like Gordon Ramsay, to follow their recipe because they know what they're doing. Never, when you have a chef special at a good, nice restaurant, change anything up. Try to have it the way they cook it because they know what they're doing. Of course, for people who are finicky and will not budge, then you make exceptions. And with your family, always do what is best for what you and your family like. It's just a little thing I've learned over the years. I'm a finicky eater, and I actually enjoy eating it the way a chef brings it out now. I've learned to just try it and take that risk. Right now we're cutting up our tomatoes. As you can see, I'm just using the organic cherry tomatoes. I'm not using the heirloom ones, but I have a feeling those heirloom ones would add a total different aesthetically and flavor to the dish. And here you're going to get your pan really hot and put just salt in the bottom of it. No cooking oil, just salt, because we're going to roast our corn. And you're going to go straight in with the corn. You want to get that dark char, like barbecue char, on your corn. So therefore, you don't want to have any kind of oil or anything in it. To get that barbecue char, you just want the corn. I went in and added my onions to the dish next, and you can let those char together. You want to let this cook for a minute or two before stirring that around to start building that char up. The more you stir it, the less it's going to actually have time to roast and char. Gordon's fancy. He can do all those cool things. He learned in culinary school by flipping the pans. I don't know that I am that daring yet, so I am just using a little spatula to turn mine. And as it starts to finally cook, you'll see it to start sizzling. You add some cooking oil into there and your tomatoes and just continue to roast that together. You can add a little chili flake or chili oil if you would like at this point. I didn't add the chili flake to it. We wanted to see what it tasted like without too much heat. So we just did the chili oil. I did not have any chili oil on hand, so I just whipped some up with what I had in my house. I had garlic chili paste and I mixed in with some olive oil, and I added some crushed red pepper to that and a little bit of cayenne pepper because that's what I had. And it ended up working out pretty good. Next, you'll want to fold in your spinach and your basil. You can leave your basil whole if you want. I had bought a whole container of fresh chopped basil from the store, so that is what I used. Chef Ramsay did use whole basil. He calls it basil, I think. And you just fold it in. And once it starts to wilt down just a little bit, you're going to go ahead and remove that pan from the heat and just let it rest until your prosciutto is crispy. But first we'll start with our pork fillets. You can use a pork chop if you want. Here is my pork fillets, and I just had a large tenderloin that I had bought at Costco or Sam's Club, one or the other, and I cut down my own meats, so I went ahead and made fillets out of that, and then I did beat them gently with, or rolled them out with a rolling pin, and I put salt and coarse pepper and also a lot of garlic powder, like Chef Ramsay said to do. I didn't put quite as much garlic powder as he used because our garlic powder, I think, is a lot different here in the States than it is where he is from. But I did make sure to put a generous amount. I got my cooking oil very hot in the pan, then laying away from me, I placed my pork fillets inside there, and you want to cook them for no more than 2 to 3 minutes on each side, and do not turn them until they have a nice crust on the bottom and they're ready to flip. You do not want to overcook these or burn them. You have to treat it like a fillet steak. That's what Chef Ramsay says. So see, I have a crust on there, and you flip them and you just let them cook. Put in a little bit of butter. He put his butter in before he flipped. I did mine after. And you remove your pork and you get it on a paper towel and let it start draining. Next, you want to wipe out your pan and get it hot again. Put your cooking oil in there and start crisping up your prosciutto. I got mine at Aldi here in the States. It is very affordable there. The one thing I did not realize is that their prosciutto is really salty, so you do not need to salt your prosciutto before cooking it if you get it from Aldi. You want to fry it about 45 seconds on each side, so it's nice and crispy, and you will continue to do this until all your prosciutto is cooked. You do not want to overcrowd your pan, otherwise you will be boiling it and not frying it. You want it to have a crispy skin. Get you some paper towels ready to the side, and you will put them on there and let those drain, and as they do, they will crisp up and they will be simply delicious. And now for the fun part, the plating. You're going to take your roasted corn Mediterranean salsa, and you want to get that into the center of your dish and get a nice little pile there. It is your side, so you want to make sure you have enough to eat there, but just don't put too much. Next, you're going to lay some of that crispy prosciutto right over the top of your salsa, and once you have that covered with the prosciutto, you're going to take your pork fillet and put it right on top of that, and then you're going to add some more of your salsa on top of your pork. And once you have that done, you go ahead and you can drizzle some chili oil or olive oil over the top if you want. I went ahead and put my prosciutto on over the top, and I chose to put the oils around my plate, and I did add a little bit more salsa to the top there just to fill in that little hole. I thought it just brought some elegance to the dish. Took my chili oil and sprinkled that around my plate because I had mixed it with olive oil making my own chili oil. I just used the chili oil, and then I put some on top as well. And there was my version of Ramsay and Tin's pork dish. And it was really delicious. I also put a link in the description area for his original video and recipe on this dish. Big shout out to Chef Ramsay. Thank you for your videos, and thank you for making them possible for all of us around the world to learn how to cook delicious recipes from our home, no matter our skill level in the kitchen. We thank you. And that wraps up another recipe with Cooking with Kayla D. Here from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, we bid you adieu. Do not quit cooking. Get in that kitchen. No matter what it is, you can do it. God bless you all. Until next time. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. And thank you for joining us on Cooking with Kayla D.
And now abide faith, hope, love. These three. But the greatest of these is love. 1 Corinthians 13:13.
My disclaimer.